Women's Soccer presents the national team of Japan versus
43 days from now, the Olympics begin for both the United States and Japan. They meet in one final friendly here in Kansas City. Happy to have you with us for this one. Alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. These two teams met back in October, a 4-1 win for the United States. But Ricky, now 43 days out. What's front of mind for all these players is just staking your final claim to make that roster.
And as a player, it's really interesting, Joe, because yes, when you think individually, you want to get yourself on that roster, but collectively, you're looking at how do you approach this game and how do you keep the team at their front foot and get your punt in the Olympics.
Kick coming up after the national anthems.
Fans, please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner.
Let's meet the starting lineups for both the United States and Japan. On the United States side, it is Patrick Schulte in goal. Out of their 4-3-3, from left to right around the back, it's Caleb Wiley, Jonathan Tompkinson, Walker Zimmerman, and Brian Reynolds. Up into the midfield, from left to right, it's Paxton Aronson, Tanner Tessman, Johan Gomez, and then up top, again from left to right, Griffin Yao, Duncan McGuire, and Taylor Booth. All for head coach Marko Mitrovic, hoping that there's one last solid performance for this group before they head on to Paris, and hoping that his decisions are made more difficult because they're going to begin that process right after this game ends today, Ricky.
And it's going to be really interesting, Joe, looking at this USA side. I'm looking at the center of the park, Aronson, Tessman, and Gomez. What does that relationship look like? Because you know the Japanese side, they're going to be very technical. How do you dictate tempo if you're at home here?
Mitrovic in charge of this team. To be happy with what he's seen so far throughout all the friendlies they have played, going all the way back to last fall. Had wins over Mexico and this Japan side, drew Iraq, and they lost to Morocco. And then this year, in March, they had two more friendlies against their two group mates coming up at the Olympics. They beat Guinea 3-0, and they tied France 2-2. On the opposite side for Japan, out of a 4-4-2, it's Leo Kokubo in goal. From left to right around the back, Ayumu Ohata, Ryuya Nishio, Kota Takai, and Riku Honda. Up into the midfield from left to right, Koki Saito, Rohito Yamamoto, Joel Chima Fujita, and Shunsuke Mito. And then up top, Ryotaro Araki and Shota Fujio. One thing that stuck out, Ricky, it's not exact from the lineups that took the field when these teams met back in October, but there's a lot of overlap, a lot of familiarity, and that's, again, one that the United States took 4-1.
And you're looking at this Japanese side. I'm looking at the two strikemen, Fujio and Araki, both players that have 6 goals in their respective leagues. In the Japanese, league. So those two players understand the movements of one another and how to play off of this back line of USA. It's going to be really interesting to see how quickly this side, because the Japanese side, they want to get on the ball. They want to dictate tempo. So how do you impose your identity in the middle of the park? That's going to be key here today.
Japan coming in off the high of winning the AFC U23 Asian Championship back on May 3rd. They finished second in their group. They went all the way on to win the title over Uzbekistan in the final. That qualified them for the upcoming Olympics. The United States have been safer into the Olympics for a lot longer. They won the CONCACAF U20 Championship back in the summer of 2022. A lot of the faces out there now for this U23 side were part of that U20 qualification period. John Freeman, the referee, in charge of this one. It'll be the United States in their white, Japan in their blue. And we're underway here in Kansas City. Glad to have you with us this evening alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Final friendly for the United States and Japan before it is Olympic time, 43 days from now. Only one for Schulte to handle. 43 days time. It'll be the United States squaring off with the host France and Japan with Paraguay. Slip through for Johan Gomez. Gomez scored in that friendly back in October when these teams met. 22-year-old from Arlington, Texas, playing now over in the second Bundesliga in Germany. Breakout season he had in his first year in Bundesliga too, Johan Gomez. 3 goals and 4 assists in 28 starts. Prior 2 years spent in the 3rd division of Germany. So the new level took to him well. Tanner Tessman looping it in behind. Everybody seemed to know the offside flag was coming up. Paxton Aronson did not give much chase. It'll be interesting as this unfolds, Ricky, who lines up where. You and I were trying to figure that out as soon as we got the starting 11s. A lot of versatility within the ranks there of Aronson and Gomez and Booth and Yao. They could all basically play anywhere along that line, either as dual 10s on either wing. There could be a lot of fluidity in that midfield.
And it does seem like Tessman will be as that single pivot right in front of Zimmerman and Tompkinson. So now you have Gomez and Booth filling the gaps as the dual 10 underneath Maguire. Maguire's going to stay high. He's going to occupy the center backs. So like you said, Joe, yes, a lot of rotations, but yet players having the audacity and the discipline in their positioning higher up the field is going to be key here for USA.
Yeah, those are the only 2 things that we do know. Maguire will be up top. Tessman will be beneath them. But how the 4 in between maneuver, that's a part of a larger conversation about the roster decision that Marko Mitrovic and crew are going to have to make over the next month or so. We got 18 roster spots. 2 are goalkeepers. 1 is very seemingly likely to be Walker Zimmerman as the overage acceptance player who's on the ball now. So you do the quick math. 18, take 2 for the goalies, take 1 for Zimmerman. That leaves you with 15 spots. There's a lot of guys who deserve to be on that plane, who deserve to be there, who are not going to make it just because of the numbers game. It's good decisions, good problems, I should say, to have right now if you're Mitrovic. Aronson looking back post. Wiley latches on.
And we've already seen this USA side as Tessman drops in between the 2 center backs. So now you give the freedom for Ryan Reynolds and Caleb Wiley to push a little bit higher. So we have overloads on the wide areas of the field, and that now allows Griffin Yao and Helen Booth to come centrally. So we talk about rotation, we talk about tactical discipline. 4 minutes in, you already see it come to the forefront for this USA side.
Direct over the top. Leo Kokubo waits on it. It was interesting to see Kokubo get the nod in goal today. On the Japan side, he'd been the goalkeeper throughout their Asian Cup campaign, 4 clean sheets in his 5 starts in that tournament. But sitting on the bench, Zion Suzuki, a name that some may be familiar with. He had the option between the U.S. and Japan. He's made 10 senior appearances now for Japan. But he is available on the bench, and talk about the decisions on both sides for the U.S. and Japan now. Deep talent pools. Do you take a guy like Suzuki, or do you opt for the younger players? Shout for handball here, and it's given. Bit of bad luck for the United States. A look from Brian Reynolds on referee John Freeman. And Japan will have a chance from 12 yards out.
Just watch the right arm of Brian Reynolds. Saito, he gets on the interior. Really tight. Seems like it's right on top of that line. Could even question it's outside the 18-yard box. But the extension of the right arm, that's what gets Brian Reynolds in trouble. It's a handball, yes, but now the question is it inside the 18-yard box or outside? Our center referee points 12 yards out. Big test here for Patrick Schulte early on in this match.
Patrick Schulte, no stranger to penalties as of late, as it pertains to Columbus Crew and their CONCACAF Champions Cup campaign. Shota Fujio takes the ball. 23-year-old has 4 goals and 17 caps at the U23 level. Plays for Machida Zelvia in the J-League. Already 6 goals and 10 starts this season. Fujio against Schulte. 6 minutes in. Fujio hesitates, sends Schulte the wrong way, and Japan leads 1-0.
And it's a right arm from the right back. Reynolds inside that 18-yard box.
Or was it?
It's tight. Would take nothing away from the composure from Fujio. Head up the whole way as he sees Patrick Schulte go down to his left-hand side. He just closed up his hips, cool as you would like. And it's a really good start here for the visitors. 1-0 within the first 6 minutes here. Now it's a big test for Marko Mitrovic. Now what's the reaction from these boys? Who's going to dig down and look at adversity in its face, get on the ball, make the ball sweat, and really test the shape of this Japanese side?
Aronson loses it and commits the foul. Taro Araki tracking back. There's the one on the ground. Aronson had some success this past year on loan in the Netherlands with Vitesse. 14 starts, 4 goals, and his 6-month loan in track Frankfurt, where he calls home now. Never really found his footing, or hasn't yet at least. Paxton Aronson, he found it in the Netherlands with Vitesse. He had a goal and an assist when the U.S. met Japan back in October. Wiley harassed by Mito. Ball somehow stayed in. Griffin Yao paddling. Comes all the way back to Caleb Wiley. Recycled through Tessman. Tried that diagonal earlier, was cut offside. Aronson this time, he times a run to perfection. Aronson. Tompkinson ahead for Reynolds, the guilty party on the penalty. Kokubo has it, takes a bit of a knock from Johan Gomez. Keeper wants to play quickly and does. Culmination of this final camp for this group before the Olympics for the United States. Most players arrived a week ago, all leading up to this final friendly, again 43 days from now against the host France. That's when their Olympic campaign begins, in a group with France, New Zealand, and Guinea. Japan grouped in with Paraguay, Mali, and Israel. 16 teams competing, top 2 in each group, make it out to the quarterfinal. Zimmerman stumbles, dangerous pass inside. And another near mistake at the back for the United States. They get away with this one.
Just look at the pairing of Zimmerman and Tompkinson, just not on the same page. It's just a massive gap between the two, and then it's an uh-oh moment lack of communication between Reynolds. Not the best start in the back line for this USA side. Fortunate enough, it goes up and over the crossbar. But those are little moments that you need to work out through gameplay. Players are not probably comfortable enough with the running mate just yet.
How difficult is chemistry when you're in for a week like this? They've had friendlies in the past, of course, going back to March and November and October, and they've played together, a lot of these players, U20, U17. But how difficult is it for Marko Mitrovic's group to come in, spend a week together practicing, and then go out there and play a game?
It's really difficult. I mean, the one thing you cannot do, you cannot assume that the player next to you is on the same page. So like Reynolds, he thinks Zimmerman saying a little bit deeper. That's when you just need to get rid of danger, whether hit it into Row Z, play it back into Schulte, little things like that. But when you start having those decision makings that you get caught in two minds, that's when you start to get in trouble.
10 minutes in, Japan leads 1-0. Oh, the penalty scored by Shota Fujio 6 minutes in. Two players missing for the United States tonight that had been in camp all week long. Gianluca Busio is nursing an injury still that he suffered in Venezia's promotion playoff. They ended up getting promotion back to Serie A in Italy. So Tanner Tessman is Venezia teammate, and Gianluca Busio on their way back up to Italy's top flight. Another player missing tonight who is gone from the group is Aidan Morris. Some of you may have seen the news today that broke that he is close to or about to complete a move to Middlesbrough in England. $4 million reported transfer fee from Columbus to Middlesbrough that required him leave the camp and head for England today. So two guys in Busio and Morris who may be starters when we get to the Olympics a month from now, not in the ranks tonight for the United States.
Now you talk about the depth in this roster. Now it's an opportunity for players that are going to slot in for those players. You're looking at Gomez and Taylor Booth that are next to Tessman here.
There's Saito cutting in, squirts through. To the deflection, Schulte has it.
Very crafty player, Saito. Just watch a little drop of the shoulder as he goes up and over. But give credit to Aronson not to put in a dangly leg. He's been probably the most active player for the Japanese side. Right-footed on the left-hand side, so always wants to challenge into the interior.
We alluded to it earlier, just positional versatility when you can only bring 15 additional field players, as we do the math again, 2 goalkeepers, plus Walker Zimmerman as your overage acceptance player. We've got 15 more spots. Positional versatility is key. So that's where guys like Aronson being able to play left, right, center come into play. Guys like Busio who could drop in or go further up the field come into play. And back to that conversation about Morris and Busio missing tonight. You see Aronson on the right. We saw him on the left side the last time these teams met in October. He was up on that top line as the left winger. Now he's dropping the midfield on the right side. So players like that are incredibly valuable with such a limited roster for the Olympics.
It's about the third time that we've seen Takai or Nishio, the two center backs, just hit a ball about 60 yards, changing the point of attack. So how disciplined can you be if you are USA in your defensive structure, meaning the two outside players need to drop down and help out the wing backs, because so many times it's been an overload just like this.
Rito Yamamoto working down this right side. 22-year-old plays in Belgium with Sint-Truiden. This is his 18th appearance for the U23s. Spanned the last couple of cycles. Played their under-23 championship back in 2022, and now again in 2024. One of their leaders for the midfield, Yamamoto. Wiley gets us going again. Away by Yohan Gomez. Now it's Fujita. Fujita and Yamamoto in that midfield. Teammates at Sint-Truiden in Belgium. And both for this Japanese U23 side, part of back-to-back Asian Cup teams. A look at goal here. It's a cross instead of the far side for Saito. Teasing ball by Shinsuke Mito. Took a deflection. It'll be a corner now for Japan.
Just comes off of, once again, it's a ball over 50 yards, changing the point of attack, and now you have players high and wide with the runs coming out of midfielder, drawing out the USA players. Really good the tactical performance this far for this Japanese side. Really asking questions of USA in their back line.
Taro Araki stands over this corner. J-League Rookie of the Year 3 seasons ago. Delivery flicked along and cleared. In the end by Yao. Early on, it was the U.S. on the ball majority of the time. That has since shifted to Japan, enjoying some possession now. Ohata, try from distance here. Schulte watches it fizz wide. It was not caught cleanly by Saito, but that's a few times now we've seen Saito willing to go for it from a distance.
With just one pass, takes about 5 players out of a USA jersey, and then you're asking Tessmann to rotate over as he gets caught a little bit slow in terms of transition running. That spot right in front of Tompkinson and Zimmerman. Not the best at first touch from Saito. Pops up, hands it wide. A player that has 3 goals, 5 assists in the Netherlands. Very technically sound with the space that he picks up, and he's been really causing problems for USA.
Saito has spent the last 2 years on loan to Sparta Rotterdam. Currently owned by a team in Belgium, but he's been on loan to that first division of the Netherlands. Over the last 2 years, really come along. I mentioned his numbers this past year, but 10 goals, 10 assists over the last 2 years combined. Player finding his footing. Mito ahead for Honda. Wiley plays out. Able to link up though with Duncan McGuire, a name we haven't called yet at all. Player who desperately requires service to be effective. Potent goal scorer when that service is there, just hasn't been through 17 minutes.
Just think the spacing is a little bit off for this USA side. You look in them defensively, look at the gap right in front of this back 4. Too many times Japan is having the freedom.
Back again for Saito. Reynolds meets him. It's scooped toward the goal scorer. Fujio looking for another, centers instead. A selfless play from Fujio. Might have been better to serve going for goal. And the United States is able to get through still, just down the 1. Fujita chipped up again. Cracked centrally to Fujio, punched away by Schulte. Good rebound control away from the traffic. Nervy moments right now for the United States, already down 1-0 on that penalty. Again, came 6 minutes in. Japan knocking on the door for a second. Now picks up his head, serves from McGuire. Quick look at the flag, and it was up.
Just look how stretched the shape is for USA. There's about 10 yards between that midfield line and back line. Now you're forcing the 2 center backs to step off their line. It's an uh-oh moment. Good save in this end. Recovery run from Gomez. And that's when you want your player, Fujio, just to be a little bit more selfish and have a go on it. Good save in the end from Schulte, away from traffic, not giving a rebound. But if you are in a mid to low block, if you are USA, you have to be a little bit more compact, whether it is Tessmann dropping right in front of that back 4, or the 2 center backs stepping a little bit higher and tightening things up.
Gomez, free kick for the United States. And again, not to belabor the point, but you go back to those two players missing in Busio and Aiden Morris. Those two are the connecting players in the midfield, are the ones who would occupy that space. So their absence seemingly looming large through nearly 20 minutes.
And it's been more defensively, players not knowing when to step, when to drop. The spacing has been a little bit off. So now you're looking at the leadership within this side just to settle things down, get on the ball, really take the game away from Japan and move the ball from left to right. And like we said, I haven't seen Duncan Maguire get him some touches, get him activated into this game.
Not the best location for a free kick. Too far for a shot, too central for a cross. See what Taylor Booth has cooking. He chips it toward the end line, towards Zimmerman, and it's centrally. Ball will remain in play. Zimmerman recycles all the way back for Reynolds. And Westerlo currently, Brian Reynolds in the Belgian First Division after his transfer last year from Roma. Reynolds. Back for Taylor Booth. Caleb Wiley. Really blossomed before our eyes. Caleb Wiley, still just a teenager. Moves it off of last. Both teams pleading their case. And it'll be out for a throw anyway, but a United States throw. Caleb Wiley, still 19. Player who last May at the U20 World Cup started 4 games, played in all 5. Key component for the U.S. in the attack, scored in that World Cup. How many deliveries did he provide to his teammates as well that helped create goal scoring opportunities? Stepping through. It's a shout for a handball here from the U.S., but it seemed like it clearly caught the defender in the face. Rihito Yamamoto as he slid through, and he's all the worse for it. John Freeman, the referee, stops play immediately for a head injury.
Give credit to Tessman. He's first to react to win this second ball right by our center referee. He reads it. And as he steps there right before, he gives Griffin Yao the ability to pull the trigger and straighten the head. Yamamoto, hopefully he's okay to keep on going. That does not feel nice with that close in proximity. And Yao gets clean contact on it.
I don't know that that was going anywhere but the 10th row. You'll see it here. It was straight up in the air. So I don't know if Yamamoto saved a goal. And this goes without saying, for the duration of the 90 here, the last thing you want to see is any sort of injury, as we're on the brink of the Olympics here. Well, 22 minutes in, it's still 1-0 Japan, and it came early. 5 minutes in, you had this question. No VAR present here. It seemed like he was outside the box, Reynolds, but Shota Fujio makes no mistakes, and Schulte the wrong way. And the 6th minute gives Japan the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, it's a really difficult technique. Eyes up the whole way. When the keeper moves, you go the opposite way, the composure. We talked about him, a player that has 6 goals in the J-League already. Been very impressed with the attacking prowess of this side from Japan.
Still down, Yamamoto, and he's being stretchered off now. Sota Kawasaki will be coming on for Rihito Yamamoto. So again, that's the last thing you want to see in a setting like this, a friendly 43 days out from the Olympics. Here go down. Yamamoto comes off, Sota Kawasaki comes on. It's just bad luck in a situation like that. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Trying to get in front of the shot. Keep it away from your goalkeeper. Kawasaki comes on, the 22-year-old. Has been called in for some friendlies for the senior team, yet to debut at the senior level. Made 5 appearances, scored a goal this spring in the Asian Cup. Again, the methodology for qualification for Japan for the Olympics. And they came in second in their group behind South Korea, but then they went on to beat Qatar, Iraq, and Uzbekistan en route to a title, a spot in the Olympics. Tompkinson.
Just look at the spaces that Tessmann and Gomez or Booth are occupying this same space. Those are the little kinks that if you crowd the center of the park, you want someone to be a little bit higher, to be more expansive. So now you have gaps to play between lines, players to operate in. It makes life very easy for this high press from Japan. Just to keep about 6 players high and clog passing lanes. Little things like that are really frustrating this USA side.
Quietest man so far has been goalkeeper Kokubo. Had to deal with a couple of crosses, nothing too sinister. Honda pulls it back. Nishio. Takai. Nishio out wide for Mito. Shunsuke Mito on this right wing, number 14, was not a part of their Asian Cup triumph last month. It's interesting to see some players called in for Japan who are not on that roster. Just goes back to that question of evaluating your entire player pool. If you're on the Japanese side or on the American side, players who maybe got called in for this that hadn't been called in previously for friendlies, just final decisions in the minds of the coaches to be made. One last look at certain guys that you didn't get a good look at over the last couple of months. Mito fits that bill for Japan, and he's been active down this right side.
Both outside backs have been very decisive at picking and choosing when they join that final third to giving the 2 center backs an outlet. It's a little bit of frustration here from Gomez. Not getting enough of the ball to his liking.
High line of pressure here from the United States. Japan plays out of it, and it's kept in by Mito. Fronted by Wiley. Mito creates space. Trying to find somebody to play off to, finally does. Fujita. Saito Araki giving goal for Saito. Reynolds defends, back for Fujita. Good quick passing in and around the 18 for Japan. United States snuffs it out in the end. Aronson is fouled. Yohan Gomez was in the thick of things there defensively. He's the one helped back to his feet now. Seems to be all right. Having a word with John Freeman, our referee, as he walks back up the field.
Just so decisive this side from Japan. Just watch the movement ahead of the ball, the numbers ahead of the ball. Ryan Reynolds gets caught with this 1-2. And then you have to give credit to Gomez doing his defensive duties. That long touch from Fujita, that's not going to feel good. Gets caught between him and Kawasaki. Those are the type of action that you need if you're going to play in the center of the park.
Tompkinson had a caught between his feet. He put Schulte under pressure. Schulte gives it away. And the offside flag bails out the U.S. It all started with Tompkinson. Wasn't sure where to play it. Had it caught right between his feet, under his legs. Ended up giving it back to Schulte.
Just hasn't been clean enough whatsoever. The 2 center backs thus far. Picking and choosing those times when to keep possession, but also when to relieve some of the danger and pump the ball a little bit higher to Duncan McGuire. Look at Duncan McGuire. He's about 25 yards away from his defensive goal now, trying to get some touches, the center forward is.
Wiley trying to relieve some of that pressure.
Just the spacing seems a little bit off, whether the players in the wide area. On this side, it's Griffin Yao and Caleb Wiley. both players playing wide, you always want to have someone centrally, the other one providing the width. The same thing for that far end. Mostly Paxton Harrison comes centrally.
Nearly half an hour in as well. It's almost feeling as if Japan is reading the movements of the United States, whether it's Wiley on the left side or on the right side, Aronson and Reynolds. They're playing through the wings, and there's always just somebody there for Japan, not allowing anything in those wings, and that's where the U.S. likes to attack from. Nice move on the end line for Saito, puts it in front. A lot of traffic there. Honda. How many times have we seen for the U.S. either Reynolds or Wiley trying to get past that first man, and there's another one right there already. Concerted effort from Japan to keep things wide, and the U.S. have not been able to play around it.
And that's when we need a little bit more variety in your spacing. Whether it's a center back dropping a little bit deeper, player higher up the field, comes centrally, and then you have the square pass, which by tendency will be Tessmann. When you always give one option, it makes life very easy for the defensive unit just to stay in the passing lanes and force turnovers.
Tessmann goes to ground. It's still Araki. Sota Kawasaki. Yao caught a hand in the face as he defended. Tough for a Japanese throw.
And once again, just so skillful. Drop of the shoulder, a little bit of an explosiveness, sends Reynolds packing. Unable to get the final action, this Japanese side. Doing very well getting themselves into that final third.
Here's McGuire. He's looking up, trying to find somebody to pass to, but he's the one you would normally pass it to, so there's nobody there. Half an hour gone with Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa, glad to have you with us this evening. Final friendly before the Olympics for the United States and Japan 43 days from now. They'll begin their group stages at the 2024 Olympic Games. Japan up 1-0 on a Shota Fujio penalty, 6 minutes in. They've been the aggressors, Japan, in getting another for some insurance. The United States have yet to threaten, yet to record a shot on goal. He'll track it down. Could be an interesting summer for Caleb Wiley. One of the few locks, I think you would think, for this roster to go to the Olympics. But beyond that, player who's in flux right now for Atlanta. Team who have, of course, parted ways with their head coach, Gonzalo Pineda. They've just sold Yorgos Giacomakis. It seems like they're going to sell Thiago Almada. That's one of the worst kept secrets around the sport right now. So then you start thinking about Caleb Wiley's future. There's been some overtures from some teams in Europe. They want to acquire his services. The outlet transfer room, a lot of leagues and players agents subscribe to, valuing players and sort of a place to go to look at who's available and how much it may cost. They estimate his possible transfer value to be nearly $14 million. So it's an interesting spot right now for Atlanta to be in, where they're kind of hitting the reset button with a new coach and getting rid of Giacomakis and soon to be Almada. Is this the moment that maybe after a strong summer you move on from a Caleb Wiley, and where does he go next, a 19-year-old with loads of talent?
Goes back to that versatility as well. Can play a plethora of positions, whether tired the field, the left back position as well. Very high ceiling for Caleb Wiley.
Yao turning the corner, Wiley calling for it back. And the assistant referee on the near side said it was over the line, out for a throw-in.
Really difficult to tell from this angle. The whole ball needs to be over the line. I don't know if it did. See the frustration from Griffin Yao. I do think we've seen the best from this USA side when they're building out in a three-back system Tessmann drops between Tompkinson and Zimmerman, so now you give the freedom for Caleb Wiley and Brian Reynolds to push a little bit higher.
McGuire pressure, nearly got there. McGuire is still chasing after it. Kokubo clears. And now plenty of space for Japan after playing out of that. Araki, Saito. It was the first time Duncan McGuire was nearly able to latch onto something in the 18. It came from a Japanese mistake rather than service from a teammate. Free kick here for the United States. A conversation about possible transfer for Caleb Wiley. A conversation is going to come back up again for Duncan McGuire. Let's take a look at this foul as Aronson goes down. But Duncan McGuire, remember, it was this past winter that he said goodbye to teammates. He was ready to ink the move to Blackburn. He was there, all set and ready, and then it fell through on deadline day. But those talks in the last week or so have ramped up again. And another one where it seems like it's a done deal in the same regard of Almada leaving Atlanta this summer. It seems, knock on wood, especially after all that happened last time, that Duncan McGuire to Blackburn will be completed this time. Player who's had plenty of success to begin his career in MLS. 5 goals this season, and 13 goals last season out of Creighton.
These types of games are so interesting for number 9, 36 minutes in. Like you said, Joe, hasn't seen much of the ball in terms of the service. So now how do you create on your own? And the number one thing that comes to mind is the work rate. Defensively, you're going to be that first line of pressure. You have to live on scraps.
Aronson nearly winning it back for the U.S. Japan playing out of it again.
It's a good action from USA. Pressing in numbers, making life very difficult for this Japanese side. Clogging every single passing lane man-to-man. You need to see a little bit more of that if you are Marko Mitrovic. We take a look at this challenge from Mito, just coming underneath Caleb Wiley. Clean challenge, all ball. Now the next step in the progression of this press is if you elect to go a little bit high, that midfield line and that back line needs to come with you. You can't have about 10 to 15 yards between lines. We see how good and how technical this Japanese side is. They can really hurt you and they can carve you apart between lines.
Still looking for that first shot on target, the United States. To be fair, they really haven't had a shot off target either. The only opportunity was the one that was blocked by the player who since departed with a head injury. And Yamamoto, that was it. That was their only look at goal, and it never got past the edge of the 18. Fujita guiding it ahead. It's a 5-on-4 right now for Japan. Tessmann tracks back to make it a 5v5. Mito looking back post, flicked away by Reynolds. Araki. Haven't called his name a ton yet. Ryotaro Araki, aside from the set pieces he's taken for Japan, off to a great start this year. Now it slipped through nearly for Saito. Araki has started this year with 6 goals in 10 matches. John Freeman gets in the way, and some of the frustration boiling over for the United States, and Duncan McGuire seemed to think that that was the moment they were going to break out finally. And when it's not your day, it's not your day.
But once again, you see Duncan McGuire electing to drop back because he's not getting touches on the ball. So now him and Gomez are occupying the same space. We talked about him frustrated, not getting on the ball. So now it's a test of discipline. You need to stay high and you need to stretch out this game and give that vertical threat. So now you give the freedom for Gomez, for Booth, we have not seen nearly enough of, to operate in those half spaces, and result of that, you'll get on the end of balls.
John Freeman now only has maybe a touch or two less than Duncan McGuire in this game, but again, that's not Duncan McGuire's fault. It's just no service into him so far. That was your position in your playing days, that's got to be the most frustrating thing, probably even more so than missing target at times, because there's nothing you can do if you don't get the ball. Yao, Gomez, given away. At least if you have a go and you miss target, you're upset at yourself, but you know exactly what you did wrong. You never have an opportunity if you don't get the ball. And there's an opportunity brewing now for Japan. 3-on-2. Chance to make it 2-0. Cut left, Schulte. It's just one. I don't know if he got a touch to it. He did not. It's a goal kick. But that is one that Shima Fujita would want back, the captain for Japan. Should have done better there.
It's just so easy for Japan just to carve through. But if you're Tompkinson, you cannot step here. As you step, you get 2v1. And now it's a 2v1 against Walker Zimmerman. Fortunate enough for Japan, they do not execute to perfection. As Fujita comes across, that needs to be at the right foot. You need to open up your hips and calmly slot it into that far post. As you let the ball come across your body, now you give Patrick Schulte the ability to come out quick to close down the angle. And USA gets away with one. Should easily be 2-0. But in transition moments, as you're your center back, you cannot engage. You have to deny. You have to delay. So you let your teammates come and support you. As Tompkinson steps up, he gets beat. And now it's a 2v1, and Walker Zimmerman is isolated.
Lacking a spark right now, the United States. Having a tough time breaking through the shape of Japan whatsoever. Now goes down. Play on. I wouldn't be surprised to see a handful of changes at halftime. Marko Mitrovic looking to spark something. Beyond that, just looking to see some other players in different positions. Final evaluation right now again before the Olympics, so maybe they were pre-planned anyway, but especially, Ricky, after the way this first half has gone, without a shot registered, without a shot on goal registered, something's got to change the break.
Just seemed like no player wants to produce that little bit of individual brilliance, that wants to get on the ball and take this game to Japan. Everything has been in front of them. No real intent in the possession thus far.
Think of some of the players who were available on the bench for the United States that can produce exactly that. The likes of Cade Cowell, Kevin Paredes, Ben Hakramaski, Rokas Pukstas. A lot of talent on the bench for Marko Mitrovic. Player not here, which made some headlines, though, is Diego Luna. Player who also fits that bill, that creative spark. Perhaps at a time like this, remained with Real Salt Lake during this time. Still in consideration for the Olympic roster. Marko Mitrovic has said, and he's been asked who's part of the selection process beyond this game. He said it's wide open. It could be anybody. You didn't have to make this camp, make this friendly to be in consideration for selection. Cutting in, it's Saito. Knocked down by Tompkinson, and Booth gets out of it. It'll be interesting to see, though, if that also includes some players on the senior team, the likes of Yunus Musa and Gio Reyna, who are still age eligible for the Olympics without using an overage player. Those players have been asked if they'd like to represent at the Olympics, and they gave the politically correct answer that they'd be open to it and it would be an honor, but curious to see all the moving parts still, just to highlight the decisions that Marko Mitrovic will have to make now in the coming weeks. Plenty of options.
It's a clear foul from Fujita. Just comes through the backside of Gomez. But he's been very good for this Japan side in the center of the park. The engine on both sides of the ball. And those are moments, Joe, that if you are USA, you force a turnover, your first look needs to be forward. Transition is going to be key for this side with the pace that they have, the creativity, and the ruthlessness on the front line. And too many times it's balls being squared across, playing negative, and now you give the ability for Japan just to get back into their defensive structure.
Far cry so far, this one, from, again, the last time these two teams met. Back in October, a 4-1 win for the United States. Here's Maguire dropping in to the heart of the midfield. That's your number 9. much of that by design, perhaps? How much of that is just a striker frustrated trying to find the game?
I'd be very surprised if that's by design. That screams to me frustrating, not getting on the ball. And when I talk about discipline, that's exhibit A of it. Because you're elective, you're on this side, you're hoping to go to the Olympics to score goals, right? You don't want to be part of the build-up. Yes, it's nice to get yourself into the ball, but essentially you're making a living putting the ball in the back of the net. If you drop about 50 yards away from your goal, who's going to be on the end of it? Once the ball gets higher, you have to work your way back. As he catches Fujita on the follow-through. It's been frustrating 45 minutes for number 13 in a white jersey.
Minutes added on here at the end of this first half.
The officials indicated there will be a minimum of 3 minutes of added time in the first half. 3 minutes.
Remember, back in March, the U.S. had 2 friendlies, one against Guinea, one of their group mates at the Olympics. That was a 3-0 win. And then they played France, another group mate, their opening match 43 days from now. It was a 2-2 draw. Scored twice in the closing moments to come from behind, down 2-0 and level things. Schulte gives it away out of the back. Booth recovers. Full head of steam from Booth. Some space to work with here. Booth looking through for Yao. Flag will stay down. Yao denied by goalkeeper Kokubo. Had to time it to perfection on the slide tackle. A yellow card here for Tanner Tessmann, no question about that one. And that had to be perfect from Kokubo. Have to be careful, A, not to use your hand, and B, not to take a player down.
Fantastic.
Either way, it's a red.
It's a fantastic run from Booth, and just watch the run from outside in from Griffin Yao. He times it to perfection. This touch, if he just tends it a little bit wider, he beats Kokubo. Would take nothing away from the goalkeeper. The timing makes himself big enough just to pick the pocket going back the other way. This clears the yellow card that you will see from the captain, Tessmann. It's the first time that we've seen a player in a white jersey get on the ball, want to make things happen, as well as movement off the ball as well, really stretching this back line from Japan.
It was Booth who played the ball through for Griffin Yao, who really broke out this year, Griffin Yao. He's been at Westerlo since 2022, but this was his first year that he made things happen. That first year he spent with the team in Belgium, he made 5 appearances for 26 minutes. That was it. Injuries did him no favors. But this past year, 18 starts, 6 goals, 4 assists in a breakout campaign. He started 7 of their playoff games with a goal and 3 assists in the playoffs as well. Griffin Yao, the 21-year-old who came up through the DC United system. Very highly touted as he came up through the ranks. Again, injuries sort of got in the way along the way until this past year. Think about coming up in the dressing room for the United States. A lot of talent on the bench, a lot of attacking talent to be specific on the bench. Down 1-0 since the 6-minute penalty from Japan. Only 1 recorded shot for the United States. It was blocked at the edge of the 18. Play that injured Yamamoto. They leave the half, the U.S. without a shot on target, down 1-0 against Japan in their final tune-up before the Olympics. 43 days from now, it'll count against France in the group opener. 45 more minutes to correct things, to make some final impressions here with the Olympics looming. More to come from Kansas City.
MLS action returns to Children's Mercy Park as Sporting Kansas City take on Real Salt Lake on Wednesday, June 19th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available now at sportingkc.com.
Boys, let's play together, yeah? It's been a long time since we played a match. We only have a couple more games until the Olympics start. This is a potential Olympic opponent. We have to compete, we have to win. We have to find it in the game. Together, huh? USA on 3. 1, 2, 3, USA!
Et on commence la deuxième partie.
We want to compete. We want to win these games that we play, even if they're friendlies or not. Guinea's a really good team. They're really disciplined, very hard, challenging team to play against. They're still fighting for a spot in the Olympics in their playoff game. Just to be able to go out there and compete and especially win in these games leading up to the Olympics is a huge thing for the group and get that mindset ready.
121 days before the United States and France will open the 2024 Olympics in Marseille. The countries meet today in an international friendly at Stade Bonal in Montpellier, France.
We're kind of taking it as like Olympic group stage games and very serious. Obviously we know France is in our group, so that game's gonna be a lot of fun to see where we're at against them right now.
We're trying to build that culture of winning, and even though it's a friendly, I don't think that matters to us very much. We still want to win and to improve as a group, so that's really all it's about.
This will be an interesting test for what they're going to face on the road just a few months from now.
3 things: intensity, togetherness, and communication. Just be sure in every action we have that, we are good to go. Okay? Action after action, we are executing from the beginning until the end. Okay? Tess.
90 minutes today, 90 minutes. This is the environment we want. This is the environment we work for. Together, the staff, the players, everyone together. We respect ourselves and we believe in each other. You're teammates, yeah? We go hard for 90 minutes. Let's go, boys, yeah? USA on 3. 1, 2, 3, USA!
Penalty for France. Bit of chaos there, but the handball by Tolkien has been penalized. Calamuendo buries it in the bottom right corner. France 1, United States 0.
Listen to
dramatic conclusion as it finishes France 2 and the United States 2, 4 months away from when they get things going in the Olympics.
When we went in the second half, full in, that's the way we want to play. Trust me, you are much better than you think you are, guys. Even though that you think you are good, you are better than you think you are. On this level, there is no team that is not good. They are all good, but we are good also. You just have to believe in that. You have to believe in your talent. We go there, we just execute. Second half, and every player that came in, you made great impact. Great impact. That's how you put quality in the minutes on the field. Okay? Thank you, guys.
It's now time to take a look back at the first half highlights.
Moments away from the start of half number 2 between the United States and Japan. Here at the U23 level, their final tune-up before the Olympics 43 days from now. It's Japan 1, United States nothing. A look back at the highlights now from that first 45, and it was early where Japan got that goal. Penalty came 6 minutes in, and to be fair, Ricky, they had a lot of the positive play on there, and a lot of these highlights you're going to see are on the end where Patrick Schulte is under some fire.
It was mostly one-way traffic, to be fair, for the Japanese side. The way that they were moving the ball from left to right, the spaces that they were picking up in between lines. Just watch the right arm of Brian Reynolds. Is it inside on the box? Is it outside of the box? But our center referee, John Friedman, says it's inside the 18-yard box. So now your forward, Ruggiero, the ability from 12 yards out, head down. Just watch his stutter step. Such a difficult technique if you're a goalkeeper to stay your ground. Cool as you would like. 1-0 Japan.
And from that point on, between Saito on the left side, Mito on the right side, and then Fujio lurking in the box, there were all sorts of issues for the United States defensively.
It was just so easy for this Japan side just to break through lines, whether it was through their passing range or just beating players 1v1. There wasn't enough tightness, intensity, or shape for this USA. Just watch. You leave your back four exposed, and now it's a 4v4 going back the other way. But I'll tell you what, if you are the Japanese side, you're asking for that final execution, that final third, because you're doing very well getting yourself into that final third, but it's that lacking bit of last quality to really put Patrick Schulte on his heels.
There really weren't any opportunities the other way for the United States until late on. There was a ball slipped through for Griffin Yao. But outside of that, there was no official shot on target registered by the U.S. in that half. Depends on who you ask if you even register a shot in that half. There was the one from outside the 18 that was blocked by Yamamoto, who went down injured. And this was another one the other way. 3-on-2 it was. Zimmerman flat-footed. Probably should have been 2-0, but the miss by Fujita.
And needs to go right-footed, the center midfielder. But this is the first time that we've seen a player in a white jersey have the willingness in its booth. And just watch the bottom of your screen. It's Yao from outside in. The timing is to perfection, but just doesn't take his touch wide enough. So now you give Kokubo the ability to make himself big. Just watch the left leg. Kick save. And he denies Griffin Yao the equalizer. And we walk into halftime 1-0 Japan.
And that was the best opportunity. See the players starting to trickle back out onto the field. Half number 2 kick is coming in just a moment from Children's Mercy here in Kansas City. We will see some changes right out of the gates for both of these sides. 3 for the United States and 2 for Japan. We'll get you those as they are passed our way as far as who came off. What we do know is that Jack McGlynn has taken the field for the United States along with John Tolkin and Nathan Harriel. Those are the 3 coming on for the U.S. Mao Hosoya comes on for Japan, as does Yu Hirakawa. It'll be the U.S. left to right in the white, Japan right to left in the blue, leading 1-0 over the United States with 45 minutes to play before these two teams sit idly by, wait until the Olympics begin 43 days from now. Last chance at a last impression. Here we go.
Halftime substitution for Japan. Leaving the game, number 9, Shota Fujii. He's replaced by number 19, Mao Hosoya. Substitution for Japan. Leaving the game, number 18, Koki Saito. He's replaced by number 20, Yu Hirakawa.
Offside flag comes up on Yu Hirakawa, who came on for Koki Saito, who torched down that left side a couple of times. The United States, very dangerous half from Saito. Really acquitted himself well on the Japanese side. Hirakawa comes in, who played all 6 games in the Asian Cup triumph for Japan. 3 of those starts.
Leaving the game, number 17, Johan Gomez. He's replaced by number 2, Nathan Harriel. Halftime substitution for the United States of America.
Looking ahead for McGuire.
Brian Reynolds.
McGuire surveying for a throw.
Halftime substitution for the United States of America. Leaving the game, number 22, Caleb Wiley.
So Nathan Harriel came on for Caleb Wiley. So Brian Reynolds give way for John Tolkien, and then Jack McGlynn in the midfield for Johan Gomez.
It does seem like the USA has shifted into a 4-2-3-1, so now you have McGlynn and Tessman at that double pivot. Then you have Aronson, Booth, Griffin Yao underneath Duncan McGuire. It's a little bit of a tactical change for the home side here. You would expect maybe the spacing to be a little bit better, players having the discipline, the understanding of where to be, and also the responsibility, hopefully to kickstart the attacking phase for this USA side.
Here is Tolkien in for Booth. Aronson, the first touch from Aronson. Puts his head down and goes. Aronson cuts it back. McGuire lays it off. McGlynn was waiting for it. And it is out for a goal kick.
And it's better from USA. So now you have the ability to be proactive on the wide areas of the field. Aronson 1v1. Now you put pressure on the outside back for Japan. He needs to come out. Really good decision from Duncan McGuire. Just not enough weight on the ball for the oncoming run from McGlynn. But if you're McGlynn, you're asking him to be a little bit more proactive, stepping into that. Fujita does just enough to deny the center midfielder shot on target. But good start to the second half from USA.
That rivals any moment they had creatively in the first half. See, just 2 minutes into this second half.
So now as you have Aronson and Griffin Yao on either side of Duncan McGuire, now you pin back the 2 outside backs for Japan. Now you keep them honest. They have to defend in a line of 4. And now you have a little bit more freedom for Taylor Booth to operate underneath. So you would expect this USA side to get on the ball a little bit more and create more chances.
Dangerous pass back here. Zimmerman takes a player down. That might be red. We'll see what John Freeman decides here in this friendly. He gives a yellow, and that might be lenient. Japan wanted a red, and they have an argument on the giveaway by Taylor Booth. Just a yellow for Walker Zimmerman.
It's just sloppy from Taylor Booth. Not enough weight on it. Hosoya does just enough. It is a foul. I'll tell you what, I do think Zimmerman should be off. Last-ditch defending effort. Deniable goal-scoring opportunity. It's a foul. It should be red because Hosoya reads it the whole way. He gets there first. And it's a good touch. It's 1v1. He's a very lucky man, Walker Zimmerman, to stay on this field and keep this thing 11 aside.
Tried pointing Zimmerman. I don't know if he was trying to point that he got the ball or that he had somebody in the area. If he was pointing at somebody in the area, that's a very wide circle he's drawing at what the vicinity of that foul contact would have been. You wonder again what's going through the mind of a referee like John Freeman in that instance. It is a friendly. It is a final tune-up here before the Olympics doesn't make it right or wrong. You're supposed to ref the game as it's supposed to be refereed, but maybe some leniency given the circumstances here. A free kick for Japan. Standing over it, Ohata. Instead, it's Araki. Schulte punches away.
He hits it well. Araki up and over the wall. But as it's bending towards Patrick Schulte, this is all of his frame to punch it up and away. Good goalkeeping in the end.
Araki from the corner comes through, knotted down just wide. Riku Handa got his head on it. I wonder who's the happiest in that equation, Ricky, as far as the red card not being given as you take a look again at this opportunity for Handa. Is it Zimmerman to still be playing, or is it both head coaches who you probably would imagine in this final tune-up before the Olympics would rather keep it 11v11, get your final looks at everybody? But another giveaway out of the back here for the United States. Fujita gives it right back.
When you talk about decision making, you have to be able to read whether a team or their opposing side is pressing high or dropping low. Too many times it's a high press from Japan. You have to have the ability just to play route one and gain some real estate. You don't want to overcomplicate things, especially so deep in your defensive third.
High line of pressure here. And the United States forces a turnover. Throw coming for the Americans. Tolkien gets it back into play. There's Tompkinson. Booth clicks it behind for Yao. Fizzes it in front. Aronson lurking.
It's better. Just watch the numbers now. As Duncan McGuire comes in, now you're asking the number 10 to be able to be vertical. Good recognition and a little bit of good skill. And then it's the numbers again from Duncan McGuire and Paxton Harrison trying to cross that near post. Griffin, now you need to pull this away from Kokubo.
Tompkinson. He seemed indecisive at times, Tompkinson, when the ball's found him in the heart of that back line. Owned by Norwich. He's been on loan the last 2 years in the 4th Division of England, most recently with Bradford City. Zimmerman, probably fortunate to still be a part of this game on a yellow. The only other yellow to keep in mind is Tanner Tessman, wearing the captain's armband for the United States. He picked it up on that tactical foul near the end of the first half. It's felt like he's been missing his Venezia and U23 running mate and Gianluca Busio in that midfield tonight. Busio again nursing an ankle knock, and he picked up in Venezia's promotion efforts. Busio had the assist on the promotion clinching goal. Really found his form again this year, Busio, after injuries plagued him last year. 7 goals, 4 assists this past season. Electric player in the midfield for Venezia. Excited to see him back in Serie A. Here's Duncan McGuire slaloming his way through and earns a free kick. But again, Ricky, the question, why is he that far back right now for the U.S.?
He does well to get away from it. And like you said, I do think if you're Marko Mitrovic, you're looking at your center forward and asking him to be a little bit more high, to occupy the center backs, to be the one that finishes a playoff, not creates it, to clear foul.
And now a shout for a penalty at the other end for the United States. of contact there. Players still crowding around John Freeman.
Nothing in that. Sakai goes down. Paxton Harrison goes down far too easily.
McGlynn finds Tolkin. Tolkin bends it in behind for McGuire. Duncan McGuire trying to force his way through, but he commits the foul. Good ball again from Tolkin. A couple of those moments already since joining the fray at halftime.
And it's that three-back system now. So now it's Griffin Yao. He's wide. That opens up this passing lane from Duncan McGuire. It's a good run off the shoulder of Nishio. Sakai does just enough to get his body. When he takes that first touch, just watch the Japanese defender, shields him off, he goes down, it's a foul. But those are the types of movements that you need to see a little bit more of if you are USA. I said it in the first half, Joe, I do think they look the best when they build line of three. This time it's McGlynn that splits the center backs. So now you give the freedom for players higher up the field to fill in the gaps and play that support underneath Duncan McGuire.
It's Tolkin on it again. It's been really impressive in MLS with the New York Red Bulls. Tolkin, 21 years of age, 13 starts this year. His last appearance in MLS was his 100th already. And his effective young career over the top again. It's flicked away by McGlynn. Offside. Zimmerman wins the header. 42 senior caps for Walker Zimmerman. This is going to be a fun endeavor for him here in the Olympics. As the eldest statesman in the room, 31 now. The overage exception. Never had an Olympics when it was his cycle. The U.S. hasn't made it since 2008. This is his first cap for a U23 side since 2015, Walker Zimmerman. Mito. Araki. McGuire chasing after dangerous back pass from Japan. Scoring goals is not the question for Duncan McGuire when he's put in those positions. Had a chance to chat with Oscar Pareja ahead of an Orlando City match not too long ago. And he said to me the next thing to come for Duncan McGuire is just positioning the runs off the ball and doing those things that go unnoticed. The things that go noticed, the goal scoring, it's no problem for him. He said that McGuire is a player who can essentially at this point score with his eyes closed. He knows what he's doing in and around the penalty spot in the 6-yard box. It's just what can you do around that to become a more complete striker? That's his question.
Especially when you play with the lone striker, how do you bring players into the game? Right? Sometimes you make that selfless run towards a corner flag to pull out a center back. So maybe it's your number 10 that has a secondary action, whether it's a layoff, whether it's a spinning, whether you know when to drop in, when to stay high. Little things like that are the next step in the progression for Duncan McGuire.
You wonder what the next button push might be for Marko Mitrovic. Players like Cade Cowell and Ben Hakramaski who can create all sorts of chaos down the wings for the United States. The interesting part of this friendly and this camp, though, in some regards, there are certain players in the mind of Marko Mitrovic who are no doubt on that plane to Paris. So do you need to see a player like that on a night like this? Would you want to see them out there for some chemistry with their teammates? It's interesting how coaches utilize a night like this as Aronson Something over the top, and Kokubo has it. But those, again, are all parts of the strategy. It'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall in those conversations. Do you put your quote-unquote best 11 out there for one last run together? Do you give certain guys a look that you maybe haven't given yet? That's the intrigue of a night like this and the player personnel decisions. Slipped in behind. Tompkinson got caught, but the offside flag bails him out.
Just look at the space between Heriel and Tompkinson. I'll tell you what, that's really tight. Gonna go either way. Tompkinson gets caught flat-footed. Osoyo's been really active since coming off the bench, just with his runs, the ability to stretch and run the line.
We're gone. Half hour remains here in Kansas City. Alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have had you with us this evening for the final friendly before the Olympics for the U.S. and Japan. A goal 6 minutes in from the penalty spot has held up the whole way for Japan. And another change coming now for the U.S. Benhak Cremaschi will replace Tanner Tessman. And the captain's armband handed off to Walker Zimmerman.
Now you'd think McGlynn sits a little bit deeper, and Cremaschi is going to be the box-to-box midfielder as a number 8. And then you have Taylor Booth in front of them as a true number 10, so a little bit more, say, flexibility, versatility in the center of the park.
Benhak Cremaschi, 19, from South Florida. First player in MLS history to complete the pathway. Academy, MLS Next Pro, MLS, and U.S. men's national team. And he did it all in the blink of an eye. Debuted last spring in MLS. By September, he was debuting in a friendly for the United States at the senior level. He's been a mainstay alongside Messi. And then Inter Miami starting 11 when he's been healthy. Missed the first month of this season with a sports hernia. That kept him out of the friendlies that were played in the spring by this U23 side as well. So it's his insertion back into the lineup. We had that conversation earlier about versatility throughout the ranks because that roster for the Olympics is only 18 players. Cremaschi really fits that bill to a T. For Inter Miami, he's played as a wingback. He's played as a box-to-box. He's played as an out-and-out winger on both sides. Very versatile. Hirakawa, end line, drives it across, flicked away by Zimmerman. It's settled and blasted by Kawasaki, out for a goal kick. A player like Cremaschi at 19, it's one you think about. In theory, not that this is exactly what coaches think about, but he's got another Olympic cycle in him. He will still be under Olympic age by the time we get to 2028, but if he's good enough, why not now? And versatility he brings as well. Somebody who's interesting on the fringes of the roster.
It's just crazy to think about the way that he plays, 19 years old, plays well beyond his years. Take a step back and you just see how mature a lot of these young men really are at the levels that they're playing, whether it's domestically, whether it's over in Europe. Just so impressive. It's a really good ball.
Kawasaki lays it off. Back again for Sota Kawasaki. Confronted by McGlynn. Yao brings it away. Advantage played. McGlynn, the outlet for Booth. Job by Joel Chima. Fujita coming around the shoulder. And running that captain's armband in the middle for Japan. He's been their drumbeat. 23rd cap at the U23 level. That's not a commonality to have that many appearances at this specific age group. But he was instrumental in their Asian Cup run to the semifinal 2 years ago and their run to the title this year. Where's the captain's armband? Hirakawa, the substitute. Yu Hirakawa. And it's off of Harriel, out for a corner.
It's been better defensively for USA, especially the fullbacks. Just watch his feet here, as he keeps them moving. And when he takes that long touch, that's when he steps in and makes himself big, denies the ball across. And too many times really the first half, whether it was Reynolds or Wiley, they were getting twisted and turning. Their body language was all wrong.
Short corner routine. Reminder for those of you who might have joined us in the later stages of this one, no Gianluca Busio, no Aiden Morris for the United States tonight. Busio nursing an ankle, and Morris left for England today in an attempt to complete his move from Columbus to Middlesbrough. Reporting done by Tom Bogart of The Athletic, and the reports surrounding it make it seem as if he hasn't played his final game for Columbus. Of course, Middlesbrough right now in the offseason over in the Championship of England. See exactly how long they allow a player like Aiden Morris to remain with Columbus throughout the summer. Continue to get some minutes, of course, on the radar at the Olympics before ultimately joining Middlesbrough. Busio again nursing that ankle injury that he sustained in the promotion effort for Venezia. Had the assist on the game-winning goal against Cremonese. Zimmerman sends it sky high. Just saw Cade Cowell pull on the jersey for the United States. The Chivas man now made his way south of the border back in January from San Jose. Given away again out of the back by the U.S. This shot is just wide. Fujita nearly making them pay. How many times have we said that? Nearly making the United States pay after a giveaway out of the back.
Just been really sloppy, to be fair, from Patrick Schulte. Has not seemed confident whatsoever with his ball playing out of the back ability. Good first touch away from traffic from Fujita, but really difficult. He's falling, tries to squeak it into that near post. Just pulls it a little bit wide, but he's been fantastic, the captain for Japan.
Cade Cowell comes on for Duncan McGuire. His first season at Chivas in Liga MX, 22 appearances, 12 starts, 4 goals in all competitions for Cade Cowell. Another one who it's astonishing that we're talking about him going to an Olympic Games, possibly only at the age of 20. It feels like he's been around forever. In a way, he has. He debuted in MLS at 16. It was 4 years ago now. It's terrific at the U20 World Cup last year, Cade Cowell. 4 starts, 3 goals, 1 assist. Tracking back, it's Tomaski, took a deflection on the way in, and it's touched over the line. Flag stayed down, a quick glance, hopefully, from the United States. But it's Mao Hosoya who capitalizes, and Japan go 2-0 up.
That's going to be a frustrating one for Marko Mitrovic, especially from your set piece. It's a throw in on the far end from Tolkin. The rest defending, that's Tompkinson. He needs to be pushed a little bit higher. He needs to be on the back of Hosoya. That's it, the 2v1 back the other way. It's an uh-oh moment. And it starts with his positioning just so far deep. If he's a little bit higher, he has the ability to rotate over and really cut down this passing lane. It's an uh-oh moment. Patrick Schulte unable to secure this ball. And Hosoya, who came off the bench, who's been very active. Look what I found about 4 yards out, 2-0, Japan.
Schulte didn't seem the happiest there as Hosoya gets the goal. It took a deflection off of Tompkinson that put it off its path on its way to Schulte. Offside flag comes up this time, but he had it lined up as if he wanted to punch it away, and then the deflection off Tompkinson, who played it with his left foot, came off the midsection of Schulte and was there for Hosoya. This was brought back for a foul here for Japan. Right here against Tompkinson.
Yeah, it's a foul.
Before the offside flag, it'll come back for the free kick.
Really clever from Hosoya. Just sees the movement coming. He creates the contact, and he just stops and lets Tompkinson run into him. And the result of that's a really interesting position for Japan. You have a plethora of options. You can go up and over the bar. You can do something off the training ground, or go hard to the goalkeeper's side. So now if you are Patrick Schulte, number one is trust your wall.
Who's it going to be? Four-man wall for Schulte. Seems like Fujita wants it. Mito's there as well. Fujita touches it along through the wall. It's deflected out toward the corner flag and saved out for a throw-in. Pete Cowell now out there for the United States. His first meaningful touches. He can take it from anywhere and create. Cowell, Booth, Cowell wants it back. Aronson lunging in.
Just want to go back to the goal. If you're Tompkinson, you have to be on the back of Hosoya as he's hanging across. And now it's a 2v1, right? Because now you're on your heels, you're backtracking, you don't have the right position as you try to make a play on it. And it starts initially, rest defense, as coaches will say. There's no threat behind you. Step onto the nearest attacking player, and that's Hosoya. Little things like that, when you watch the film, are going to be really frustrating for a coaching staff.
Here's Yao. Cowell making the darting run in behind. Yao takes it wide. Been a positive week in the U.S. Youth National setup as a whole as we start thinking further and further down the line who might be in this position for the next Olympic cycle. The U19s this week had two friendlies, one against Argentina and one against Uruguay, and they won each of those by the same 1-0 scoreline. So the U19s, who again 4 years from now might be in this position with the U23s. Positive results down the line in the U.S. Youth National setup.
Just a little bit late. Ohatsa comes through Paxton Aronson.
McGlynn thinking about something, chipping it over the top for Yao. Kramaski. Kokubo still has not had to make a save in this one.
Going to be interesting to see the remaining 15 plus here for this USA side. A different look going forward. Now you have Kay Cowell. Direct vertical, like to run in behind and stretch the opposition versus Duncan McGuire. That was more of a back to goal number 9. Yes, he can run the channel. So how do you have the right amount of balance of playing through and also playing direct?
Nice touch from Aronson. Picks up his head, has some options, looking through for Booth. Great step off the back line by Ohata to win it. Pardon me, by Takai, the other center back. Again, both of them have really not had a lot to do in this one. been a few minutes since they've been on the field together, but you can already see that level of comfort that Cowell and Aronson possess. Those two terrific at the U20 level. Back in the 2022 CONCACAF Under-20 Championship that got the U.S. qualified for the U20 World Cup last year and the Olympics this year. Both played at the World Cup last year and featured in prominent roles. Takai. Sato. In behind for Mito. Blocked by Harriel. Hiroki Sakine getting ready to come on next for Japan. It'll be for Ohata, who's on the ball now. Bent in behind for Cowell. Foot race with the goalkeeper, Kokubo. It's a couple of times now that he's been very confident off his line to make a big play, Kokubo.
Substitution for Japan in the 77th minute, leaving the game, number 21, Ayumu Ohata. He's replaced.
Really good idea here from Taylor Booth, an early ball, because there is real estate as he sees this thing develop. But like you said, Joe, Kokubo, as a goalkeeper, how decisive can you be when you come off your line? You have to be sure that you're going to make any sort of play on this ball. It gets there right before Cade Cowell.
Sakine comes on. 21-year-old earns his 8th cap at the U23 level. Played every minute of his 5 starts at the Asian Cup. And Japan lifting that trophy back on May 3rd. It qualified them for the Olympics, beating Uzbekistan in the final. So in the same regard that the United States, maybe have a lot of players on the bench coming into today who have their spots solidified. Sakine, one of those for Japan, who has his spot solidified. Just a chance for the coaches to look at some of the other options, make some of the tougher decisions on the periphery of the roster. And a difficult decision-making period lies ahead. Again, 18 players allowed to go. Of those 18, 2 goalkeepers, and in the case of the U.S. with Walker Zimmerman, you've got him as an overage exception who will be on his way, so that leaves 15 spots. And just for context, there were 23 field players, make that 22 excluding Zimmerman, 22 field players in this camp. So inherently 7 are getting cut. And that's not even including some of the players who were in consideration who weren't here. Mario lays it off. Now it's McGlynn back underneath. McGlynn still with an opportunity. Kramaski pulls it through. He's looking for Yao. Never got a shot off the United States. Have to do better there. Got a couple of opportunities to maybe send one goalward. And for the first time tonight, test Kokubo. They haven't done that still. No shots on target yet. Comes all the way through. Teasingly so. And out for a goal kick.
Just need to be a little bit more ruthless. When you're about 20 yards out, pull the trigger when you have the window. But this is really good movement. As this ball rotates over, Griffin Yao sets his defender up extremely nice. Little drop with the shoulder, explosiveness. You need someone slashing across that near post. Is what it does. If you get on the end of it, it's an easy tap in. If not, you pull out a center back for a secondary run.
It'll be a corner. Japan had led it over the line as if it took a touch, as if it didn't take a touch, excuse me. Corner whipped in, out and away. Cowell. 80 minutes in, still looking for that first shot on goal.
I'd argue, Joe, since going into a 4-2-3-1 formation, this USA side has seemed a little bit better in terms of the idea, the support system, the options going forward. Nonetheless, even more numbers in around that 18-yard box. It just seemed like early in the first half, players are unsure of what spaces they have to occupy, a bit confused. So now you go into a double pivot, you let the freedom, whether you're front four, and they've seen a little bit better in the attacking phase of this game.
Booth. Harriel. Free kick on the way here for the U.S., and this is maybe an opportunity to get one in the mixer. You think back at their chances in this one in the second half. Early when the half began, they had that one laid off from McGuire to McGlynn, never got a shot off. Back in the first half, their only shot was from outside the 18. It was the one that unfortunately injured Yamamoto. They haven't really had that opportunity. Not from a good spot either. A couple of instances where they put a dangerous ball through the 6, and had nobody get a touch on it. Kodai Sano enters now for Japan. McGlynn's free kick. Zimmerman was near. It's out for a corner.
It's a really good ball in. Set pieces are a fantastic way to kickstart the attacking phase of this game and crawl yourself back into it. Not creating anything through the run and play. So you're looking for quality here from Booth.
Driven in. That back post where you had Tompkinson lurking. Tolkin. Remember their last friendly back in March against France. We're down 2-0. Scored twice in the final 5 minutes to tie it 2-2. See if they have some of that same magic here in their final send-off before the Olympics, the United States. Picked up by Sano. Kodai Sano. Sato. Back for Kawasaki. Sato slipping it through. Sano was on the turn. Pushed away by Tompkinson. Sato. Fujita tries to slip it through. Tolkin clears. Gives it right back. Sakine. Free kick on the way for Japan.
No need if you're Griffin Yao to come in with this pace. Sakine is facing the end line, the touch line. Move your feet, make him play negative. Let the sideline be a second defender, then force a turnover. As you become a little bit overzealous, now you give Japan another opportunity just to whip this thing into the mixer.
Six remaining of the 90. Penalty in the first half of Mao Hosoya tap in this second half. Japan looking for a third, but it'll be a goal kick. Soya, who has that second goal for Japan, has featured already prominently at the senior level. 6 appearances and a goal for Japan at the senior level, and that goal came in a World Cup qualifier he played in back in November. This is his 21st appearance and his 9th goal at the U23 level for Japan. Another turnover. Zimmerman does enough to get it to Tolkin. There's Tolkien with some space. McGlynn. Both of these teams play on the same days for the Olympics, the 24th, 27th, and 30th of July. It's France, New Zealand, and Guinea for the United States. Paraguay, Mali, and Israel for Japan. In those orders, United States in Group A, Japan in Group D. Possibility these teams could meet as soon as the semifinal. Depending on how the groups shake out, they can meet no sooner. Coming weeks will have that roster made public. Question of who Marko Mitrovic brings for the United States. 18 players again will be on their way to Paris. Slotted through for Sano. Goes down rather easily. United States wins it back. And 25 players in this camp. They made it clear that just because you weren't in this camp doesn't mean you're available for selection. You think of a player in goal even, like a Chris Brady of the Chicago Fire, who hopes to be on his way and certainly in the mix. They've had their look at him already. They know what he's about. They didn't necessarily need to look at him in this period here. A player like that maybe on the horizon. Diego Luna, not in this camp, who could be in the conversation. We've seen Gio Reyna and Yunus Musa asked if they'd be interested in going, and both sort of deferred. It's not a decision for them to make. They'd be willing to play, would love to have that honor, but not their decision to make. So a lot of options for Mitrovic and very, very few spots. And we figure 15 spots available. 2 goalkeepers plus Walker Zimmerman as an overage exception. That leaves 15 spots. Kodai Sano swings in the corner. Cowell meets it. Sato trying to work away from Kramaski.
Just seen first every 50-50 ball, this Japanese side. Kramaski just trips over his own legs as he take off. Satsa with him. Really interesting angle from Sano here. They're aiming for right that back post with the oncoming traffic. Any deflections, a nightmare for Schulte.
Loose in front, Zimmerman pokes it away. 90th minute now in Kansas City.
Just look at how tight the lines are for for Japan.
Fourth official has indicated
Those two center midfielders are about 5 to 7 yards in front of the two center backs. There's no space to operate in between lines. So you think that has to come from the top, their manager. How compact can we be in our structure to really let USA go around us, never through us?
Ariel trying to go around or through. Sato could do neither and he'll pick up a yellow.
A yellow card caution has been issued to USA. Number 2, Nathan Hurriel.
There were some brief glimpses, Ricky, after the substitutions were made, be it at halftime when you brought on McGlynn, Tolkien, and Harriel, or be it later on when you brought on Cowell. There was a few minutes after each of those substitutions where there was a little bit of a spark for the United States, but those flames died out quickly in both instances.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the intensity. The intensity just hasn't been there for this USA side. The ability to close down space, moments like that, to win your individual duels. And then it's the execution. Too many sloppy passes, too many players occupying the same space. And all the result of that, it's been very easy for Japan defensively. How many times have we seen Ishii or Takai turn around and face their own net? Gokubo has not been forced to make one save through 92 minutes. That tells you the story right there. Especially with the talent that this USA side has. They should be asking a lot of questions of opposing goalkeepers, putting them on their heels early and often. And I do agree with you, when the subs have came in, the tactical change, you start to see glimpses of what this side can be. And we have to think, over the course of 6 months, these players have only played together about 30 days all combined. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. Yet that's the life of a pro footballer, having the ability to find real-time solutions in game-time settings. What a frustrating evening for this USA side.
We know what the collection of talent is individually, all these players coming from the different places, be it in Europe or MLS, and the high levels they've had success at young ages. But again, to your point, it's a different question of coming together then as a team and how much time you have together. On the flip side of that, you see this Japan side who've had more than that together, especially recently. They played together from the beginning of April to the beginning of May in that U23 Asian Cup. They spent a month and a half, about 30, 40 days together, separated for 3 weeks, back to their respective teams mostly in the J-League, and then back at it again this past week. So all told, in the last 60 days, this Japan side has spent about 2/3 of that time together. The United States has spent the last week together. That has to count for something, but on this night, it's Japan who's going to take it 2-0 over the U.S. And there is the final whistle. A different result than it was back in October when the United States took down this Japanese side 4-1. It's 2-0 Japan this time in the final tune-up for both before Paris.
And argue Japan was the better team from minute 1 to minute 93. More efficient, more professional, and a well-deserving 2-0 win here in U.S. soil ahead of the 2024 Paris Games.
It's coming up in 43 days for both of these teams. The United States begins against France. Japan begins against Paraguay. Take you back to the highlights from this one. In the early going, it was Japan who had a lot of the momentum, a lot of the opportunities, and they were rewarded with that chance creation, getting a maybe controversial penalty gifted to them right here. Was it inside or outside the box? Not sure, but in the end, it's a goal.
That's its right arm, the extension of it, an unnatural position that gets him in trouble. And as you have your number 9, Fujio, stand up, the last technique, close up his hips. It's a stutter step, such a difficult technique to perfect. 6 goals in the J-League, 1 in the first 5 minutes here for his national team. And I thought on the width part of the field, Japan was so good. 1v1 combination play, the second man running out of midfield, really testing the shape of this USA side. Unable to find that second goal in that second half though, but it was all one-way traffic, Joe.
Koki Saito was maybe the most deserving player of a goal on this Japanese side from that first half. Here he is again, just continued to create, whether it was for himself or for others, as he sprung on this one. The striker, Shota Fujio, who again scored that penalty. They were dynamic in the final third, even in tight spaces.
But you just see most of their pattern plays that came through the center of the park, whether it was the lack of backtracking, the shape that was just not there for USA, and decision making. There's no need for, if you're Tompkinson here, to step here. You have to delay so you let your teammates come around, but it's a lack of recovery runs as well. Unfortunate enough for USA, the center midfielder Fujita comes in with the wrong foot. If that's opened up his hips with his right foot, he steps through it. It's 2-0. Just pulls it wide.
We're going to the break, up just 1-0, but only just because a giveaway out of the back from Schulte nearly gave them another opportunity. The U.S. able to play out of the back. This was maybe their best look of that half. Slipped in behind for Yao. Kubo, the goalkeeper, came all the way out, made the play. That was it. That was their only sniff in the first half, the U.S.
And it was the first time that we saw a player in a white jersey have the intent to take this game to the Japanese back line. It's a really good run from Griffin Yauko. Kubo makes himself big, and the other side, he's switching to a 4-2-3-1. Now you start to get Duncan Maguire a little bit more involved. These are the types of runs that he's made a living in MLS in. Off the shoulder, getting on the end of it. But I do think the two center backs for Japan were terrific at the ability to read the game. And now it's a 2v1, but it starts with Tompkinson. Rest defending, it's lacking. He's not there to step up and turn off this transition moment at the origin. And now you give the ability for this to let this play develop. His hits are close. It's an uh-oh moment. Hosoya finds it at the doorstep. 2-0 Japan.
And that was all they would need. The United States had a couple of moments where they maybe found some sort of spark in that second half, but nothing yielded from it. That'll do it for us tonight from Kansas City. For the crew that makes this possible, and my broadcast partner Ricky Lopez Espin, I'm Joe Malva saying so long for now. These two teams go again in 43 days when it counts in the Paris Olympics. Thank you for watching, and good night, everybody.